Okay, how many of you guys have interacted with a chatbot? Quite a few of you guys. How many of you guys would say you had a weird or annoying experience interacting with a chatbot? Also quite a few of you guys. So my interest within chatbots started approximately a year ago. I read loads of articles saying how amazing the technology was in order to save resources within businesses, and also how amazing it would be to be a first mover on the technology. Even tech giants like Facebook and Microsoft would go out to say how this technology was going to revolutionize the way that we communicate with businesses. This really excited me, and I immediately went looking for chatbots I could interact with. I got legal advice from a legal chatbot that had a disclaimer saying that the legal advice should not be viewed as valid. I also tried to integrate a weather chatbot to my Facebook Messenger that gave me daily weather updates, and it also tried to mimic a sense of friendship by letting me know that it was going to watch a bunch of Tim Allen movies or that it had a crush on its local barista. Yet the chatbot did not understand any freely written input, so the friendship quickly became one-sided. After trying a handful of different chatbots, I realized something quite important was missing: a great user experience. See, the articles I read were all from companies trying to sell their product, a chatbot. And so users were used as a checker in a strategic game to sell this product. This is also the reason why I chose to focus on how to strengthen the customer relationship with a chatbot by focusing on the user experience. It was simply knowledge that was missing within the field. In my thesis, I focused on Nordea and their chatbot Nova, and I focused on their customers in the age gap of 20 to 65. I did focus group interviews to get an understanding of how do the customers actually perceive this technology, how do they feel about it, how willing are they to interact with this technology. I also did user tests to be able to see the interaction between the customer and the chatbot. I chose to do so because I wanted to see a customer relationship within a context and see how a chatbot affected this. From this, I got 4 findings. And even though I chose to focus on Nordea in my thesis, I would argue that these 4 findings can be seen in a much broader perspective, and it's relevant for any business that's interested in implementing a chatbot or wants to improve the user experience of an existing chatbot. So, my first finding is the purpose should be clearly communicated from the beginning of the conversation. Now, this might sound basic, but you'd be surprised at how many businesses that actually leave the purpose of their chatbot up for interpretation. And this was really evident in the informants that I had in my thesis, as they were throwing their hands up, rolling their eyes, and shaking their heads at the chatbot in annoyance. And the reason why this is so important is because despite the common belief that most chatbots today are fueled with AI, well, the vast majority are actually kind of dumb. So a dumb chatbot understands things like, how much does shipping cost? That's a pretty straightforward question, right? We're not in doubt what is being asked. But a question like, I've been looking at the dresses on your website and I'm not sure which sizes to get them in. In some brands I'm a size small, in other brands I'm a size medium. I'm also 178 tall, so I'm scared that they might run a little bit short on me. Can you help me? Now, this type of question has a lot of details and it's tied to that specific person. So it's going to be hard for a dumb chatbot to find a covering answer for a question like that. So it's really important to let the user know from the beginning, this is what the chatbot can be used for, so the user can assess, can this solve my problem or not? And in that way, you can also avoid that the user spends a lot of time in the chatbot before realizing, should I use another channel for this kind of question? Now, my second finding is that the communication in the chatbot should be guiding the user through the process. Now, users are mind readers, and they should not be treated as such. And we need to keep in mind that this is a new technology for users to use when they're interacting with businesses. So we have to hold their hand, guide them through the process so they know how to use the technology in order to make sure that it becomes as successful as possible. If you do not do that, there's a chance that the user will end up in a fallback path. And for those of you who do not know what a fallback path is, it is when the chatbot lets the user know that it does not understand the user input. And a fallback path is actually also a great example of where the chatbot should be guiding the user, as a chatbot shouldn't just say, I'm sorry, I don't understand that. But it should also say something like, I'm sorry, I don't understand that, but I can help you with this, this, and that. And in that way, tell the user once again, this is my purpose, and the user can reassess. Or something like, I'm sorry, I don't understand that, but my human colleagues, they would be super glad to help you. If you write your contact information, they can contact you. So make sure that you don't leave your user off in a dead end, and make sure you don't waste their time. My third finding is that the content should be personalized. Now, this is not relevant for all chatbots, but it was for Nordea. And the reason why it was relevant for Nordea was because when their customers were contacting them, they needed to get information or knowledge that they themselves did not already have, and to help them guide their actions within the bank. So whether it was loans or if it was investments, they needed knowledge that tied to their specific situation. Now, the chatbot did not accommodate that, so the users were left with a feeling of, well, I know just as much as the chatbot, so why is it here? It actually weakened its purpose that it was not personalized communication. Now, this comes to, it can either be led to introducing the purpose of the chatbot in the beginning of the conversation, but it can also be due to a lack of understanding of the customer journey. Now, it's really important to understand why your customers are contacting you, right? So if the vast majority of the inquiries you receive are from users looking to get information that ties to their specific situation, then there's a chance your chatbot should accommodate that. However, if the vast majority of inquiries you receive are from people looking for general information or frequently asked questions, then personalized content is not as important. What is important is to understand why your customers are contacting you and integrating this understanding within the chatbot. My fourth and final finding ties nicely together with the third, and it is that the chatbot should accommodate the existing user relationship. So it's really exciting when you have a new technology that imitates human behavior, and to give it a personality and a visual identity and perhaps a name, and to treat it as a separate unit. But all of those things should actually represent the core of your business, because it's extremely important to create a synergized user experience across all of the channels. And the reason why it's especially important with new technologies is because then all of a sudden the chatbot doesn't seem so strange. It can seem a little bit familiar if the tone of voice is familiar, or if the visual identity is familiar. And in that way, it can also be a little bit more engaging for users to actually want to use the chatbot. To be able to do something like that, it's really important to understand, how do your users view you? How do they view your business and your relationship with them? These were my 4 findings, and I truly believe that a focus on these 4 findings can create a great foundation for a good user experience. Thank you so much for your time.